Have you ever locked eyes with someone and for just a moment, everything went still? What if that stillness wasn't awkwardness? What if it was recognition? Not fear, not excitement, but something deeper, as if a part of you, something ancient, something hidden, suddenly whispered, I know you. There were no fireworks, no dramatic signs from the universe, just a strange calm, a quiet sense of alignment, as if for a brief second the world paused and everything made sense. Carl Jung, one of the most profound minds in modern psychology, believed these moments weren't random, not fantasy, not delusion, but something profoundly real. The unconscious recognizing itself in another. We think we know what we're looking for kindness, chemistry, compatibility, but sometimes someone shows up and it's not about what you've been seeking. It's about what your soul already remembers. It's unsettling, isn't it? Because this kind of knowing doesn't come from the rational mind. It doesn't explain itself. It just shows up, suddenly, silently, like your inner world has found its reflection and can't look away. I've felt this before. Maybe you have too. You meet someone and suddenly silence feels full. Small talk feels unnecessary. You're not trying to perform, not trying to impress. Their presence feels like home, and you have no idea why. Jung believed these weren't coincidences. They were the outer world syncing with something inside us, something buried, something long forgotten, a reflection of patterns we don't always see but deeply feel. Now, pause for a moment. People. What if the people we meet aren't showing up because we're searching, but because we're ready? What if your soul is guiding you, not with signs, but with stillness? Not with logic, but with moments that stop time? The truth is, the most powerful connections in life aren't the loud ones. They're the ones that whisper, that reach out in quiet certainty and say, pay attention, this matters. So the next time you feel that strange, unexplainable pull towards someone, don't ignore it. Don't dismiss it. Because sometimes the soul recognizes the soul, and when it does, no words are needed. Most of us grow up being told that life is just a series of random events. Things happen, people come and go, and if something feels meaningful, we're taught not to read too much into it. It's just a coincidence, they say. But Carl Jung saw it differently. He noticed something strange, something poetic that occasionally events happen with such uncanny timing, such symbolic resonance, that they feel charged with meaning. Moments that seem too precise to be random. He called this synchronicity. Ever thought about someone and then they called you? Ever walked into a place you'd never been before and met someone who ended up changing your life? That's not cause and effect. That's not logic. That's your inner world. Your thoughts, your feelings, your unconscious patterns lining up with the external world in a way that feels orchestrated, not by chance, but by meaning. It's as if something inside you is reflected back to you through the outside world like a mirror. Jung believed that these moments aren't about predicting the future or manipulating fate. They're messages, clues, gentle nudges from the unconscious, or perhaps the universe itself, saying, pay attention, this matters. Synchronicity doesn't scream, it whispers. It shows up when you least expect it, often when you've stopped trying to force things. It might be a book that falls off a shelf at the exact moment you needed to read it, a song that plays during your darkest hour and says exactly what you couldn't put into words, a stranger who speaks a truth you didn't know you were waiting for. These aren't just odd coincidences. They're markers, reminders that there's a hidden order behind the chaos, that meaning is not always made by the mind, but felt by the soul. So the next time something lines up so perfectly that it gives you chills, don't brush it off. Sit with it. Feel it. Because the truth is, the universe may not always speak in words, but it's always speaking. And when it speaks in synchronicity, it's telling you you're not lost, you're aligning. Sometimes, someone walks into your life at the exact moment you weren't expecting them, but somehow you were ready. Not because you planned for it, not because the stars aligned in some perfect astrological pattern, but because deep down, something within you had shifted. You were no longer the same person you were before, and neither was your path. Carl Jung believed that when our inner world evolves, when we grow, heal, or become more conscious, people start showing up who reflect that shift. Not to rescue us, not to complete us, but to mirror the parts of ourselves we're finally ready to see. It's not fate that sends them, it's alignment. They might not look like what you imagined. They may not be your type or follow any logic on paper, but something about their presence makes you feel seen, known, like they've held a mirror up to your soul, not to show you who they are, but who you are becoming. Have you ever noticed that? That some people don't come into your life to change it, they come to reveal it? It's easy to romanticize this and call it destiny, but Jung would say it's much more grounded than that. These encounters happen because a deeper part of you is ready, ready to evolve, ready to understand, ready to face what's been hiding beneath the surface. These people, whether they stay for years or only a season, aren't here by accident. They appear when the timing isn't just right on the outside, but inside you. Maybe it's someone who challenges the way you see love, or someone who reflects a strength in you that you've been afraid to embrace. Whatever it is, they don't complete you, they reveal you. So if you've met someone recently who stirred something in you, don't rush to define it. Don't box it into labels. Just ask yourself, what part of me is waking up in their presence? Because the right people don't fix you. They show you where you're already healing. And sometimes, that's the most powerful kind of connection there is.
Have you ever fallen for someone and couldn't explain why? They didn't match your checklist. They weren't what you thought you were looking for, but something about them pulled you in. Not from the surface, but from somewhere deep inside. Carl Jung believed that inside each of us lives a hidden image, a kind of soul echo that shapes who we're drawn to. For men, this inner image is called the anima, the feminine soul within. It embodies qualities like intuition, creativity, emotion, sensitivity. For women, it's the animus, the masculine spirit, symbolizing strength, reason, direction, and will. These aren't gender roles or stereotypes. They're symbolic blueprints, energetic imprints left in our unconscious that influence the kind of people we magnetize toward, and the kind of love that stirs something real in us. You see, we don't just fall in love with people. We often fall in love with parts of ourselves we've forgotten, repressed, or never fully known. That quiet, mysterious woman who awakens something in you might be your anima calling. That grounded, visionary man who feels strangely familiar could be your animus rising to the surface.
It's not about fantasy, it's about reflection. Jung believed that we unconsciously project these inner images onto others, and when someone matches the outline, even if we don't realize it, we feel drawn to them. Sometimes it feels magical, other times confusing, because what you're really feeling is your own soul recognizing a piece of itself it's been missing. This is why relationships can feel so intense, even before you know the person. Why you feel seen by someone who barely knows your story. It's not always about them. It's about what they awaken in you. And that's the beauty of it. Real connection, Jung would say, isn't just about chemistry or compatibility. It's about integration. The people we're drawn to help us reconnect with the parts of ourselves we've lost touch with, whether it's softness, strength, vulnerability, or vision. So the next time you're captivated by someone you can't explain, don't rush to define it. Just ask, what part of me do they reflect back to me? Because love, in the Jungian sense, isn't about finding your other half. It's about remembering the wholeness that was already there. What if the deepest connections in life aren't about finding someone perfect, but about meeting someone who wakes up something? You see, real connection doesn't always come with sparks or butterflies. Sometimes it comes with stillness, with peace, with a strange sense of familiarity that makes you feel like you've finally come home without ever having left. Carl Jung believed that the people who truly matter in our lives aren't the ones who check every box or fulfill every fantasy. They're the ones who mirror our hidden layers, the ones who unknowingly invite us to look inward, not with words, but with presence. I've met people like that. Maybe you have too. People who don't say much, but being around them feels like breathing for the first time in a long while. You're not trying to impress them. You're not worried about saying the right thing. You're just you. And somehow, that feels like enough. This kind of connection isn't about perfection, it's about resonance. Something in you recognizes something in them, and not on the surface, on a deeper level, a soul level. And the irony is, you might not even fall in love right away. In fact, love might not even be the right word for what you're feeling at first. It might just be a quiet sense of being seen. A warmth that says, this is safe. This is real. Jung would say this isn't a coincidence. It's not a fantasy either. It's the unconscious finding a reflection. It's a moment when two inner worlds silently nod at each other, saying, I know this place. We spend so much of our lives chasing connection, and yet the most meaningful ones often arrive when we stop chasing and start listening. Listening to that calm knowing beneath the noise. So if you've ever met someone and felt an unshakable sense of truth in their presence, don't ignore it. That's not just chemistry. That's your soul recognizing itself in someone else. True connection isn't loud. It's quiet. It doesn't rush. It simply arrives and stays with you. Not every connection is meant to last forever. Some people enter your life not to stay, but to awaken you. Carl Jung understood this. He often asked a powerful question that most of us never stop to consider. What part of you is doing the choosing? Is it fate? Is it chance? Or is it your unconscious, guiding you toward the very experience your soul needs? There are relationships that don't end with closure or clarity. They end with questions, with longing, with a version of yourself you didn't know existed until that person arrived. And maybe that's the point, because the ones who stir us the deepest often reflect our most hidden layers. They bring our shadows to the surface, our fears, our unspoken desires, our past wounds. Not to hurt us, but to help. Jung called this process individuation, the journey of becoming whole. And he believed that real love isn't about two halves completing each other, it's about two evolving souls walking parallel paths, helping each other grow, break patterns, and wake up to their true potential. So if you've ever had a connection that felt intense but temporary, don't dismiss it just because it didn't last. Ask instead, what did I learn about myself through them? What was awakened in me that would have stayed asleep otherwise? Because not every meant to be stays forever, but every one of them leaves something behind. A shift, a scar, a spark. The people who awaken you may walk away, but what they stir in you, what they reveal, can never be taken back. And that is where the meaning lives. Not in permanence, but in transformation. Not every meant to be is meant to stay forever. Some people come into your life as lessons. Some arrive as bridges, taking you from who you were to who you're becoming. And a few, a rare few, stay. But here's what they all have in common. They show up when you're ready, or more truthfully, when a deeper part of you is ready, even if your conscious mind hasn't caught up yet. Carl Jung once said, the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. And isn't that what it feels like sometimes? You meet someone and something shifts, not just in the connection, but in you. Maybe they help you see yourself differently. Maybe they awaken a forgotten dream or challenge a belief you've clung to for too long. They don't always bring comfort, but they always bring clarity. And in those moments, we're tempted to ask, is this the one? But Jung would offer a better question. What part of me is waking up in their presence? Because that's where the real magic is. It's not about labeling someone as your soulmate, twin flame, or forever person. It's about recognizing the transformation they catalyze. What emotions rise to the surface? What truths suddenly feel unavoidable? What version of yourself begins to emerge? Some people stir your soul, not to fulfill your story, but to rewrite it. To shake the ground just enough so that something buried can finally rise. So if you've ever met someone who felt like more than coincidence, who arrived like a question but left you with an answer, don't chase the label. Chase the lesson, the awakening, the inner response, because maybe being meant for you isn't about permanence or possession. Maybe it's about activation. Two lives crossing paths at just the right moment, not to fix each other, but to reveal what was quietly waiting to be known. And that kind of connection, even if it doesn't last a lifetime, it leaves an imprint that does. When something is truly meant for you, you won't have to chase it. You'll just know. Not in your head, but in that quiet space beneath the noise. The place that doesn't speak in words, but in a deep inner knowing, a calm, a clarity, a feeling that doesn't ask for proof, but simply is. That's what real love feels like. Not a desperate grasp to hold on to someone, but a sacred space where you come back to yourself. Carl Jung believed that love, at its core, is a mirror, and through it, we don't just learn about the other person. We learn about our soul, our fears, our shadows, our light. The relationships that matter most don't just fill our hearts, they reveal them. Think about that. Every meaningful connection is less about keeping someone and more about remembering who you are when you're with them. Who do you become in their presence? What parts of you wake up? What do they reflect that you've been blind to? Love isn't about possession. It's not about control or permanence. It's about recognition, about awakening, about coming home, not to someone else, but to the truest version of you. So if you've ever loved someone and they didn't stay, but they left you more aware, more open, more you, then it wasn't a failure. It was a return to your heart, to your truth, to your soul's path. And maybe that was the whole point all along. So before we go, I want to ask you, have you ever met someone who didn't stay but somehow stayed in you? Someone who changed you simply by helping you see yourself? If that resonates, drop a comment. I'd love to hear your story. And if this journey into the soul stirred something real in you, consider subscribing. This space is for quiet reflection, for deep meaning, for the parts of us that still believe in the power of truth even when it hurts. Because love, real love, doesn't just give you another person, it gives you yourself.